Hello, am I audible?
Sir, am I okay? Sir, yes, audible இருக்கா சார்? வந்துச்சா?
So, உங்க
one
mic
minute,
off
madam.
இருக்குன்னு நினைக்கிறேன்.
Sir, கேக்குதுங்களா சார்? Am I audible okay? Madam, am I okay?
Sir? Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay, madam. Let us start formally. நீங்க start பண்ணுங்க.
Okay, sir. Good evening, all. On behalf of AJK College of Arts and Science, I welcome our today's resource person. It is none other than Dr. G. Moorthy, Assistant Professor, Head, Department of English. Mr. Moorthy has a wonderful talent for creative writing, translating poetry, and writing novels. He received Best Short Story Collections Award from Manida Vidudalai Panbatu Kazhagam, Aruppukkottai in 2019. It is a privilege and pleasure to have you with us, sir. Thank you for accepting our invitation for this event. Now I request Dr. G. Moorthy to proceed on this topic.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Good evening. It's really great to be here to be part of this AGK College of Arts and Science Department of English that organizes 6-day international conference in collaboration with English Literary Research Center, also known as Sanga Ilakkiya Research Center, Perambalur. And it's really happy to speak on this international seminar, which is mainly focusing on literature and its impact on women empowerment. It's really, very pertinent topic today because nowadays women, the identity of women need to be addressed. And also, I thank Dr. Suresh and his team, Sanga Ilakkiya Research Center, Perambalur, and Dr. Jasmine Priya, HDF Tamil, Executive College of Arts and Science, Coimbatore, and the team that stood behind the success of this program. Thank you, everybody, once again. Thank you, everybody, for giving me this precious opportunity to speak on aesthetic mapping and the portrayal of women in literature. First of all, I would like to briefly speak on what is aestheticism. See, aestheticism aestheticism is a artistic movement. It is an artistic movement. Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So I just want to share the screen. Few seconds,
Yeah,
please.
sure, sir. You can.
I'm sorry. Yeah, because I just want to share the screen. Few seconds, please. Because
Okay.
I'm not technically okay to do all these things. I need some support from my supporting staff. Please
Yeah, sure, sir. Why
give
not?
me for few seconds.
Okay, sir. You carry on.
Thank you. I get to open my list. Open. Yeah. Yes. Okay, madam. Is it okay, madam? Is it visible, madam? Is it my slide visible on the screen? Madam, please tell me. My screen is visible, madam. My slide is visible.
No, sir, it is not visible.
Is it not visible?
No, I can't find it. No, sir, I can't find it. I can only see
Sorry,
you.
sorry. Is it visible, madam? Is it visible? Sorry. Okay, fine. So my topic is on aesthetic mapping and the portrait of women in literature. See, I just
But
want to
actually, it is
say
not visible.
few words. Pardon, ma'am? That's okay. That's fine. But clear is clearer. Okay, fine. So aesthetic mapping and portrait of women in literature. See, actually, this movement, this movement which started in the 1860, because 1860 was the period where there are so many things have come up in the literature that dominates literature in multiple spheres. Actually, this movement was greatly spearheaded by a famous man, Rossetti, who spearheaded this movement and who says that this is a study of art or beauty. Aesthetic means a pleasant, positive, artful appearance of personality. So he says that he says art is for art's sake. Art is for art's sake, because the people need to glorify and to speak more about the art, because art is the one that really supports the people. I mean, especially supports the connoisseurs to have the more taste out of the literature. So this movement was started in 1867 and 1868, in which he stated that life had to be lived intensely with an ideal beauty, because um, when the people, I mean, the people of literature or the connoisseurs got an idea to taste literature, this aesthetic sense naturally dominates the people and to taste more about the pages and more about the pages. So my lecture would be on in two different classifications. So today, as I mildly quoted about the aesthetic sense and aesthetic portrait of women, here today we need to speak more about the identity of women that I gently quoted to begin with my lecture, because um, nowadays, today we are in the world where the world is stood in the two parts and confronting with each other and fighting everybody, combating everybody, in which even infants are crucially killed. So in this crucial situation, so speaking more about the aestheticism and aesthetic aspect about would be footed. So that I just want to speak something about the predicament of women across the world. So how women are treated and how women are portrayed across the world, because um, women today are encountering multiple challenges, and the sufferings are innumerable, and their positions are treated to be inferior, and they are not at all happy with the things that are available to her, and the treatment that are given to her, because they are treated in a subservient status. So I would like to begin with the two famous crusader of India, one is Dr. Ambedkar, Baba Sahib Ambedkar, and Tandai Periyar. Baba Sahib Ambedkar, who says about the height and he says, I measure the progress of community by the degree of progress which women have achieved. So he just wants to recognize and acknowledge the status and the position of women only by the measures and the progress of the community by the degree of the progress which women have achieved. So he portrays a woman that he portrays women the degree and the culmination only by her achievement. But what is the ground reality today? That is something different. Of the total world population, nearly 48% of the women are educated, but still we see women who are mercilessly beaten and poignantly raped in for no good reason, because they are treated to be the inferior born, and the second sex are encountering lot of challenges, because of the total women population of the world, 48% of the people have got the success, but the remaining is the sordid history. Today, the ground reality is that there are some women who are forced to indulge in the prostitution, because already in Sangam literature we have Devadasi system, and sexual violence against Dalit women is also considered a regular and routine phenomenon of oppression today. So we earmark the fund, and we initiate drives and all that. The government is taking a lot of measures and steps, but still the women faces a lot of problems. So the the discrimination are such, gender discrimination, forced marriages, domestic violence, and sexual violence. So we see the disparity of the gender today. But what we see in the literature, or what we see in the books, are that when we take the Bible or Bible is, where it is a religious book of the Christian, where John Milton got the inference from the Bible, and who portrayed Adam and Eve in his book called Paradise Lost. Adam is a racial type, and Eve is a sexual type. So Eve is considered to be the subject, whereas Adam is considered to be the racial creature and racial phenomenon. So he says, even when you see in the Bible, men's curse is to toil sweat of his eyebrow. The Eve curse is far more political, and the brilliant explanation is given for their inferior status, because the curse is that, in sorrow you shall bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. So when we browse through this, the politicized explanation given by the preaching given by the God, in sorrow you shall bring forth the children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. Because here we come to know that the man is a born of the superior, whereas the woman is born of the inferior. We could browse through these lines. So under these circumstances, or under this context, we come to understand that there are a lot of societal imbalance, and inequality is also obviously seen when we see about men and women. So Tennyson says, he says, man for the earth and women for the earth, man for the sword and women for the needle, man for the head and women for the heart, man to command and women to obey. See, my dear friends, man is always a creature of intellectual, born an intellectual creature, and the superior one, and he has every power to dominate the earth and women. So, but what the status and the predicament is given assigned to women is that she is supposed to see the earth, and she has to look after the domestic chores and housing, domestic responsibility. So the institution of the patriarchy simply recommends and advocates man is to be the superior, whereas women is to be inferior. So that these versions are intently teach us that man is superior and women is inferior. So but one thing we must understand, my dear friends, see, this is the world. This is a world of, this is a ground for equally safe for everybody, for the two species like man and women. But we see that, the disparity, the inequality, and the inferior status and subservient status of the women. But what Simone de Beauvoir, the French feminist in her second sex, who says that woman is free and autonomous being, and she lives in a world where men compel her to assume the status of other because she is not at all free. She is not at all free enough to go ahead with her own responsibility. But her counterpart is always compelling her to assume the status of other. So that is really, really a pathetic one to see and to know that women is not at all free and all that. So addressing about the women empowerment. So we need to give the full freedom. I'm sorry. Women is to be free. Women has every rights and autonomous being. But sometimes she has become the property and the object of her husband. In our practical world, in our practical society, the land is in the name of the women, but she has no rights to sell. The gold is in her possession because every day she uses, every day she wears the ornament she wears, and the chain, the drops, everything she wears. But she is not supposed to use this ornament in the absence of her husband. So what the Sangam literature. I mean the Sanskrit. In the Sanskrit, there is a term called Purusha. So that Purusha has become Purushan today in the Indian context. Purushan today. So Purusha is the word of the power center. So she is not supposed to violate the space that is given to her. So all the time she is to obey. She has to obey and she has to be subservient to her husband. So there is a famous book called Virginia Woolf in her room of one's own, in which she says she speaks more about, I mean, she speaks of the position of women in the world, how women their status and everything. She says, imaginatively she is of highest importance. Practically, what is a practical? A position, she is completely insignificant because she is not at all significant creature or being to her husband. She pervades poetry from cover to cover. She is all but absent from history. She dominates the lives of kings and conquerors in the fiction. See, when we see the book, any book that is shaded with the aesthetic sense, we see, so there are a lot of glorifications about women. Women is this, women is that, women is everything. She is all and she does everything. She has every power. She is a power center. Everything we see. But what is the ground reality? The ground reality is entirely different. The ground reality put everything upside down. So that the hero says imaginatively she is of highest importance. Yes, of course. We see that when we imagine women, when we imagine women, so she is the power center and she has full rights. She has every importance and she has highest position. But practically, this thing is not like that. But in the poetry, the people used to pen poetry with the glorification of the women. And he says that women is everything. I wouldn't be like this without the support of the women. Everything he says. But you see the history, when you browse through the history pages of the history, we see that there is no sufficient, I mean, significant place is available for the women. We see this is a ground reality, and we see that women are when we trace even in English literature. So even before the Chaucer, or after the Chaucer till the 17th century, we have not seen any sufficient place for the significant place for women power, and women are not treated to be the intellectual bond even in, I mean, almost in all the literature. So there is a poetry in Sangam literature called எண்ணில் அருகே ஏழில் உம்பர் அணிமிகு மென்கொம்பு ஊழ்த்த மணிமருள் பூவு பாடும் அணிக்கேட்டே, because it was written even before 2000 years ago in Tamil literature, Sangam literature, where there was a woman who talks about the beauty of flower, tree, breeze, everything, but this name is not given at all because we scarcely see that Avayar was a priest who teaches more. Very few women we see. But the same thing is also with every part of the literature across the world. And in fact, what happens ultimately, you see the women status of the women. Finally, she has become the slave of her. At very first, when she was young, I mean, when she was infant, she was slave of. She was a slave of her father. When she got married, she was a slave of her husband. When she give birth to the children, she become a slave of her for her son, everything. So this object of the women, right? Become a slave in every part of their life. So finally, when the father, when father sees, father prepares everything, all the things prepares for the daughter. He is not in a position to know or to give, or to listen the word of their daughter. So the boy or any male counterpart, if he prepares, then she has to marry, so that whose parents force ring upon her fingers. Some of the, you see, we have aware, and intellectual starlet in the pages of literary annal and in the history, but so many inspiring words we get, so many profound thoughts we have in literature. So there are some many things like, the aram செய்ய விரும்பு. It's a very biggest philosophy of the world. I hope this is the biggest philosophy of the world. Aram செய்ய விரும்பு, because we lost aram today. We lost virtue today. Because we lost virtue, so that we are standing in the war front, and even we never see infant. We never see children. We largely believe on lethal weapons today. So, some of the profound thoughts we get only from the women, but we are not ready to give a sufficient space and place for the women. In real life, she could hardly read, could scarcely spell, and she was the property of her husband. See, this is a sordid history. She has become the object, the subject, the commodity, the product. She is the product of her husband. Her husband is a consumer, so she has to provide everything. She has to believe in the act called Sivakami, Bama, and Yimayam, Kanmani Kunasegaran. We see women in multiple hues, spears. In Sivakami women in a grip of change. A women in Tamil it is called Padayana Kalidhanam, and it has been translated to a grip of change. In the grip of change, she portrayed a woman who is subservient to whatever her husband says. He has to obey. She has to serve. She has to do the bed service to her husband. She is not supposed to protest against the desire of her husband. So she has to obey. She has to act according to his command. In Bama's work also we see an Imayam, the beast of burden. In Tamil it is called Koveri Kadudigal. There is a character called Arogyam. I hope so. I have Arogyam. Arogyam is a woman of women of the burden, women of the all the more sufferings. She has to forbear everything. Everything she has to forbear everything. She was a woman of Tovi, and she has to go for fetch food from the streets. So she suffered a lot in Kanmani Gunasegaran Anjali and Alagai Perivan Amma Ulayipadi Nirthi Vittar, a book called Amma Ulayipadi Nirthi Vittar. There are so many women we have come across who encountered problems in their in everyday's life, right? And when we go through the Sangam literature, there is Sangam literature, there is a poetry called Indru Pramtaradal Tantalai Kadane, Sandorathal Tandai Kadane, Nalkal Nandari Vendar Kadane, Uliruval Arunchama Muriki, Kaliri Irindu Pedal Kale Kadane, because there is a duty has been designed and assigned to almost to the both the sexes. So Indru Pramtaradal Tantalai Kadane, see, women's duty is to give birth. You see the status, the predicament. ஈன்று தன் தலை தருதல் தன் தலை கடன், ஈன்று புறம் தருதல் தன் தலை கடனை. Women duty is to give birth. Women's duty is to produce children. So this is the position of the women today. Women faces a lot of troubles and problems today. today. So that there is from the Tantale Kadame, Chanduraakadam Tande Kadame, because the father's duty is to promote the son to get the higher education. Nalkali Nalkal Nanneri Vendar Kadame, the duty of the government or the king is to give provide education. And ஒளிருவால் அருஞ்சம முறுக்கி களிர் இருந்து பெயர்தல் காலை கடனே. When we see, in Ashu like it, we see Shakespeare's, 7 stages of men, there are, all the world's a stage, men and women are, men and women are, we are the players. The world has existed and dealt us like that, here also we have some stages. So, the youth, that we see, the youth duty is to fall in love with. The youth's duty is to fall in love with. So similarly here, ஒளிருவால் அருஞ்சமம் முறுக்கி களிரி இருந்து பெயர்தல் காலை கடனே. So the youth duty is to kill or to hunt the elephant. So I understand, and also I'm okay with the versions that youth is to be very stronger and superior, and he has to do everything, and he has to be he has to protect the family members, everything, right? But when we see the first line, into so but it is really piercing. It's really piercing our heart, piercing poisoned needle that piercing into our heart to know the fact that you need to so women, even from the Sangam literature or from even from the Sangam literature in Indian context, have been facing a lot of problems because when we go back and to see the Manusmriti, who recommends that, who advocates that women is equal to 10 cows. COWS. A woman is equal to 10 cows, because so that in our practice called Pongal Seer, in our practice called Pongal Seer, in our Pongal Seer we used to give or we used to offer a cow to the women, a cow to the cow. The father's house used to offer cow to her daughter. So it means that if my daughter is if with any kind of calamity, then you are freed with the cow, because a cow will give is a prosperous one, a symbol of prosperity. With the prosperity of the cow, you will grow. So it was a practice done because it was a preachings of the Manusmriti, we see. And when we go back to the literature of English, you see, there are some powerful characters, very, very strong and powerful characters like Portia, Cleopatra, and Desdemona, Lady Macbeth, Ophelia. Some are treated in a positive way, some are treated in a negative way. That is a different thing. But very, very powerful women is penned by William Shakespeare in England. Portia is a advocate, a lawyer, doctorate in law, right? Portia argues very superbly in the court, giving freedom for her husband, right? And but Portia plays the role of the lawyer in the court, not in the attire of the man, but in the attire, not in the attire of the woman, but in the attire of the man. You see. So because the Western country and European countries are somewhat forefront in the liberation, in giving liberation to the women, but still it was in the 16th and half and 17th century. Shakespeare wrote this play called called Merchant of Venice. But women was denied the right to wear, right to appear in the court. So she appeared in the court with the shoot, the parachute. So women was denied the space. So we see that women is also a creature like us, a creature like a man, like a male counterpart, but she was denied rights. Desdemona, very, very pathetic character in Othello, very, very pathetic, and we cannot even imagine the drama of Othello without without the contribution of, without the role of the Desdemona, the very, very innocent lady, a white lady, fall in love with the black man, the Moor, but encountered a lot of problems. Ultimately, she was lost her life at the hand of her husband, right? And she's very, very powerful because of her power only. Othello indulged in a soliloquy because he had a lot of trouble. He had a lot of dichotomy, double-mindedness, everything, confusion, everything, because he failed to come into the conclusion to lead his life in a way of the prosperity, because ultimately he had come and to kill his wife at the bed chamber, right? So it was a predicament, and Cleopatra, when it's a beautiful woman in actually Cleopatra. So there is a character called Barnabas who says to Antony, right? Who says to Antony? Antony says, let the Rome melt the Rome in Tiber melt. The kingdoms are clay. Here is my space. He says, let the Rome melt in Tiber melt. So I don't want the Rome, because Rome is the biggest one, because the Romans are very, very pioneer, even in England. So such a civilized country and very, very powerful. And he was one of the timers of Pompey and Julius Caesar. But this man, fall in love with Cleopatra, the beautiful lady of Egypt. And ultimately, he was in Tamil it is called, there is a beautiful word for this love called. So he was infatuated, I can say, sorry, I cannot remember the word. So fall in love with a beautiful lady called Cleopatra. He says, in a kingdom markle, yarikida in the Arasaji, manna bodum, here is my space, because Cleopatra lap is my everything. So I see every comfort and all that only from the lap of the Cleopatra. I want Cleopatra, not more than that. I want only Cleopatra. Cleopatra was a source of beauty for him. He says, kingdom are clay, yaarukku venum, manna pottum, yaarukku venum. I don't want that. Enakku adala vendidilla. So he says, a very, very powerful character. But அப்ப சொல்லுவான் பாபஸ் நான் சொல்லுவான், கிளியோபட்ரா என்ற அழகு பட்டகத்தை மட்டும் நீ காணாமல் போயிருந்தால் நீ உலகின் பல நாடுகளுக்கு மேற்கொண்ட பயணம் அல்லவா வீணாகி போயிருக்கும். அத்தனை அழகு மிகுந்தவர் கிளியோபட்ரா. அதை பார்க்காம போயிடலாமா நீ? சொல்றேன் பாருங்க, நமக்கு அப்படி ஒரு நண்பர். So Baba says, in a Cleopatra என்பது அழகின் பெட்டகம். She is a cascade of beauty. அத்தனை அழகு மிகுந்தவர், right? So that Antony lost his life. When we see Lady Macbeth, when we see Macbeth, Lady Macbeth is very, 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 very strong woman, Lady Macbeth. என் மார்பில் பால் குடித்திருக் கொண்டிருக்கக்கூடிய குழந்தையை உனக்கு ராணி பட்டம் தருவேன் என்றால் உடனடியாக செய்வேன், சிறிதும் தயங்க மாட்டேன். Such a cruelest, horrific character Shakespeare created, because we see women in the world where women are treated in multiple characters. We see நம்ம சொல்றோம்ல தமிழ்ல பஜாரி மாதிரி we say. அப்பலாம் see ஆம்பளைக்கு ஆம்பளை we say, பொம்பளைக்கு பொம்பளை we say. It's a phraseology is commonly spoken even in our practical context, everyday context we see. So Shakespeare saw such a man in Macbeth. சொல்றா, என்ன நானும் என் புருஷன் கச்சேரிக்கு போறான் எப்படி சொல்ல முடியும்? My husband should be the king of the country. So Duncan, the king of Duncan, was killed at sleep by Macbeth, right? And Ophelia, we see Ophelia. Who is Ophelia? Ophelia, a very, very innocent and என்ன சொல்றது, ஒரு softest character. See, when we say softest, but it is very, very powerful character, right? சொல்றான் என்ன சொல்றான், ஒஃபீலியா அவன் கண்ணீர் இருந்துகிட்டு என்ன சொல்றது, அஞ்சலி நாவலை படிக்கும் போது நமக்கு தோணுமே, அந்த அஞ்சலி கேரக்டர் படிச்சு, ஐயோ ஒரு மொட்டையில் நின்று கொண்டு தலையில் ஓவென்று அடித்துக் கொண்டு அழுதால் மட்டுமே அஞ்சலிக்கு நாம் தரக்கூடிய ஆறுதல் என்பதாக இருக்கும். அதே போல ஒஃபீலியா அவ நினைச்சுக்கிட்டு கண்ணீரை நின்றுகிட்டு கதறக்கூடிய காட்சி, ஹேம்லெட் கதறக்கூடிய காட்சி, நின்றுட்டு பேசுறான். 1000 brothers couldn't have the love to you. but I had the love to you. ஆயிரம் சகோதரர்கள் உனக்கு இருந்தால் எத்தனை அன்பு செய்திருப்பார்களோ அதை நான் செய்தேன், உன்னை இழந்து விட்டேன். I lost you. I lost you. I lost you. See, you see, you know, the brother sister affections you see. So actually here the lover's lamentation is reverberated. It is a resonance of the lover's reverberation, but with the reverberation of the lover's attachment, lover's intimacy, we see that, you know, there is a intimacy, the love, intimacy and the affection between brother and sister. இந்த உலகத்திலேயே காதலர்கள் வைத்திருக்கக்கூடிய அந்த அன்பினை காட்டிலும் சகோதரி மீது காட்டக்கூடிய அன்பும் சகோதரன் மீது காட்டக்கூடிய அன்பு என்பது இந்த உலகத்தில் it is something that is unparalleled in the world. The love of the brother for her sister, the sister's love for her brother is something that is unparalleled in the world. That unparallelism is portrayed in the context of the lovers of Ophelia and Macbeth. Hamlet in Hamlet drama of Shakespeare. Very, very powerful women we have. So, but women, you know, women in the passage of their life, you know, lost and met the catastrophe, the problems, the fatality, the casualty, everything. There are some women are portrayed, some women are glorified, some women are put in the culmination and biggest height, but many women faced problems. Under these circumstances only, we speak of the women empowerment. So that, you know, Ruskin says that, you know, Shakespeare has only the heroes, only the heroines, not the heroes. So we see women are the driving force of our life. Women are the central force for everything. Central force of everything. We see, you know, so that Ruskin says, you know, Shakespeare has only heroines. So we have the hero called Arsinoe, we have the hero called, you know, Antony, and we have Macbeth and Othello. But, you know, to some extent, you know, we remember and the lady characters, you know, Rosalind in I should like it, Rosalind. She gives, you know, the power. She's a, I mean, of these Shakespearean heroines, you know, Rosalind is a very, very intellectual character, very, very intellectual, right? So the Shakespeare women characters are, you know, women characters are giving the very, very power, very, very powerful, giving very power. And my dear friends, you know, we have seen, you know, there are some problems that are encountered by the women in the world. Many problems. The problem in the name of, you know, slavery within the 4 words. The problem in the name of, you know, name of the freedom, but she's not at all free. As I said, you know, she wears drops, she wears chain, she has money in her bank. She has, land is here in her name, and the house is here in her name, and every property is in her name, but she is denied rights to use whatever she wants to use, or anything she wants to use. She has to put a word to her husband at least. என்கிட்ட ஒரு வார்த்தை சொன்னியா, உனக்கு அவ்வளவு உரிமை யார் கொடுத்தது? இந்த வீட்டுல ஒரு ஆம்பளை இருக்கான்னு உனக்கு தெரியல? Don't you think that I'm your husband, I'm the man of the family? So he's asking, because he's taking upper hand in every stages. So அந்த சமயத்துல women பக்கத்துல, neighbor will come and say, நீ ஒரு புருஷன்கிட்ட ஒரு வார்த்தை கேட்டு கூடாதா? You would have asked a word, you know, from your husband. You simply are going and marketing the jewelry, everything, without the consent of your husband. How? Are you a woman? Right? So even this word, you know, bombala, the word is treated to be the inferior nowadays. So we have seen so far we have spoken so many things about the problems that are encountered by the women and all that. Now we are going to see women, the beauty of the women. So because already we have seen that, you know, some of the things that we have discussed in our first part of our lecture, and in Tamil there is a beautiful in Sangam literature there is this is in Sangam literature there is a beautiful poem called, you know, that portrays the beauty of the women, which begins, you know, தண்டுலாவும் தாமரை போகியில் மொண்டு நீரை முகத்தது ஏந்தினல், கெண்டை கெண்டை என கரை ஏறினல், கெண்டை காண்கினல் நின்று வியந்தனல். See, a woman goes and fetch a handful of water to wash her face, but the pond is fully filled with beautiful flowers, roses, lotus, beautiful flowers. So she simply, wiped away the lotus that is blossomed on the surface of the water, wiped away and fetched a handful of the water, and she takes the water nearby the by her face and see that there are two fishes that have come up in her handful of water. She left everything and abruptly she went up to the bank of the pond. தண்டுலாவும் தாமரை பொய்கையில் மொண்டு நீரை முகத்தர் ஏந்தினல், கெண்டை கெண்டை என கரையேறினல், கெண்டை காண்கினல் நின்று வியந்தனல். அப்பதான் தெரியுது, தாமரை பூத்திருந்த குளத்தில் இறங்கிய பெண்மணியானவள் தண்ணீரை எடுத்துக்கொண்டு முகத்தறிய போகிறால் முகம் கழுவ வேண்டுமாய் தோன்றியதும், முகத்தறியில் கொண்டு போன பிறகு முகக்கழுவ முயற்சிக்கிறார். அப்ப பார்த்த உடனே ரெண்டு கெண்டை மீன் தண்ணிக்குள்ள கை வெளியில வாழ்ந்துகிட்டு கையில இருக்கிறதா நினைக்கிறா. ஐயோ, கெண்டை மீனை பிடிச்சிட்டேன்னு சொல்லிட்டு அந்த தண்ணியை அப்படியே போட்டுட்டு மேல கரைக்கு மேல ஓடி வந்துடுறா. ஓடி வந்த பெண்ணுக்கு அப்பொழுதுதான் தெரிகிறது, கையில் அகப்பட்டு கொண்டது கெண்டை மீன் அல்ல, கெண்டை மீனை போல இருக்கக்கூடிய தன்னுடைய கண்கள் என்பதை அப்பொழுதுதான் அவரால் புரிந்து கொள்ள முடிகிறது. Such a beautiful line is depicted in Sangam literature. So it says, when we see, there are so many things in our world, in our society, in our life-like situation. We see the beauty is seen in multiple spheres. The thing of beauty is joy forever. So this is a thing that provided the beauty for the lady, and to have joy forever. Sure. So she went away thinking about the beauty of her eyes. I think there are so many portrayal are given to describe the beauty of the woman, but this is a one such reverberating the beauty of the woman, right? And in Shakespeare's poetry, sonnet, I shall compare thee to the summer's day, thou art more lively and more temperate, I shall never write nor no man ever loved. Enna line பாருங்க, what a beautiful line. I shall compare thee to the summer's day. See, நம்ம வெயில பார்த்து, because it is written in a context of the Europe, and English context எழுதப்பட்டது. Summer's day வந்து நமக்கு வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா it was very very torturous, very very too hot, but the people enjoyed the summer's day. I shall compare thee to the, அதாவது எனக்கு எப்படிப்பட்ட தெரியுமா, அவனுக்கு வார்மிங் கிடைச்சிட்டு இருக்கணும். நம்ம பார்த்திருக்கோம், அவன் எப்படி அவருடைய வாழ்க்கையை வந்து என்ஜாய் பண்ணணும் நம்ம பார்த்திருக்கோம். They have witnessed the people, how the people are enjoying their life, summer stay. ஒரு கால் வந்து இந்த உலகத்துல இருக்கக்கூடிய அந்த டேல வந்து சம்மர் ஸ்டே இருக்கு பார்த்தீங்களா, அவனுக்கு இங்கிலீஷ்காரனுக்கு அது மாதிரி தரக்கூடிய சுகம் உலகத்துல வேற ஒண்ணுமே இல்லை. That thing is compared with the women. ஒரு கால் இது மட்டும் யாராச்சும் போயின்னு சொல்லுவாங்க, நான் இனிமேல் நான் கவிதை எழுதி விட்டுறேன். I will leave writing poetry. I shall never write nor no man ever loved. I leave writing poetry. Shakespeare says. See, under this, in this context, we come to know that he is challenging. He's challenging the aesthetic sense, right? And when we browse through the pages of the Kamba Ramayana by Kamban, right? There is a poetry called வெய்யோன் தன் மேனியில் விரிஜோதி மறைய பொய்யோ எனும் இடையாளோடும் போனால் மெய்யோ மரகதமோ மறிகுடலோ ஐயோ இவன் அழகு உலகம் அழிவுடையான் காம். ராமன் எப்படிப்பட்ட வந்துறீங்களா? You know who Rama is? Do you know whom Rama is? சூரிய கதிர்கள் அவன் உடம்பில் பட்டால் சூரிய கதிர்கள் தெரித்து ஓடும். அவனு கலர் such அதாவது ராமன் அதாவது வந்து நம்ம ராமாயணம் இஸ் penned for what kind of cause, that is a different thing. But here we are talking about the beauty, here we are talking about the aestheticism, right? அந்த உடம்புல பட்டது தெரிச்சு ஓடுமா, அவ்வளவு தக 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 தகன்னு இருக்கும். வெய்யோன் தன் மேனியில் விரிஜோதி மறைய சூரியன் மறைந்து விடுவான், உடம்பில் பட்டவன் மறைஞ்சு போயிடுவான். பொய்யோ எனும் இடையாளோடும் போனான். தசரதனால காட்டுக்கு அனுப்பப்பட்ட ராமன் தன் பொய்யோ எனும் இடையால், பொய்யோ எனும் இடையால், பொய்யோ இடை என்பது அங்கு இருக்கிறதா என்பது தெரியாத அளவுக்கு பொய்யோ என்னும் இடையே கிடையாது. பொய்யோ எனும் இடையாளோடும் போனான் காட்டுல. ரெண்டு பேரையும் பார்த்துட்டு again Rama is addressing this couple from the third person's perspective. வெய்யோ என்னும் விரிஜோதி மறைய பொய்யோ என்னும் இளையாளோடும் போனான். பார்க்கிற காட்சி, now he is coming to portray the couple's beauty from the third person's perspective. மெய்யோ மரகதமோ மரிகடலோ மரிமுதலோ சொல்லிட்டு அதுக்கப்புறம் என்ன சொல்றதுன்னு தெரியல. உண்மையா அப்படி இப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு கடல் மாதிரி அலை மாதிரி மலை மாதிரி சொல்லிட்டு அதுக்கப்புறம் அவருக்கு கம்பன் வீட்டு கட்டுத்தரையும் கவிப்பாருன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. உண்மைதான் போல் இருக்கு. ஆனா இங்க என்ன சொல்றாரு அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு, ஐயோ இவன் அழகு உலகம் அழிவுடையான் கான். இந்த உலகம் அழிகிற வரைக்கும் அழகு இருக்கும். இன்னும் ராமனை பத்தி பேசிக்கிட்டு இருக்குமே, still we have issues about Rama temple, Rama about Rama Navami, all that we speak of. உலகம் அழிவுடையான் கான். Here Kamba failed to portray the beauty of the couple of Rama and Frida, Sita here. So wherever the writers are born, whether in Europe or in India, Asia, or wherever they born, we come to know the fact that all the writers are thinking alike. All the writers are thinking like Shakespeare and Kampa thought alike here. வெயில் பட்டு அந்த வெயில கம்பேர் பண்றான். சேம் வெயில் we have in Kamma Ramayanam here. Same veil here we have, right? So all the people are talking about the same thing across the world, right? So there is another beautiful point about அதாவது அழகை பத்தி நாம ஒரு விஷயத்த நமக்குன்னு we have a perception. ஒரு perception இருக்கு. We have perception. What is the perception we have? அதாவது அழகுங்கிறது is something that is seen in the outward form of the physics அப்படின்னு நினைக்கிறோம். We say that we believe that beauty is seen in the outward form of a creature. No, it's not like that. It's a one such. But in fact, a beauty is a one that is a innate one. So we see Manimegalai as a literature of Buddhism. We see காணார் கேளார் கால் முடக்குற்றோர் பேரொரு இல்லார் பிணியில் நடுக்குற்றோர் யாவரும் வருக இசைத்துடன் மூட்டி. So she believes in a fact that பாரதி சொல்றா இல்லையா, தனி மனிதனுக்கு உணவு இல்லை எனில் ஜெகத்தினை அழித்திடுவோம். தனி மனிதனுக்கு உணவு இல்லை எனில் ஜெகத்தினை அழித்துவோம். ஜெகம் என்பதாக காடு என்பதாக நாம் புரிந்து கொள்றோம் இல்லையா? First, right? So she believes it. Manimekalai believes because at last a daughter of Madhavi and Kovalan, at last she embraced the religion of the Buddhism, and finally she wanted to provide food for the people. She said, காணார் கேளார் கால் முடக்குற்றோர் பேரொரு இல்லார் பிணியார் நடுக்குற்றோர் யாவரும் வருக இசைத்துடன் வீட்டு. இந்த உலகத்துல யாராருக்கெல்லாம் முடியாதோ அவனுக்கெல்லாம் உணவளிக்கிறது என்னுடைய அழகுன்னு சொல்றேன். My virtue is to provide food for the people who are hungry, who are under hungry, poverty, penury. She says, Manimegalai says, such a beautiful woman we see in Indian literature and in Tamil literature, and there is another. Her mother also says that அறவோர் காப்பதும் அறவோர் காத்தலும் மந்தனர் ஓங்குலும் துறவோர் கெதிர்த்தலும் தொல்லோர் சிறப்பின் விருந்ததில் கோடலும் இழந்த எண்ணெய். அதாவது அறவோர் உலகத்துல யாரெல்லாம் நல்லவனோ அவனுக்கு உணவளிக்கிறது, காத்தலும், அந்தணர்கள் படித்தவர்களை பாதுகாத்தலும், அவர்களை கவனித்தலும், துறவோருக்கு எதிர்த்தலும், தொல்லோர் சிறப்பின் அவங்களுக்கெல்லாம் எதையுமே செய்ய முடியாத, உணவளிக்க முடியாத ஒரு நிலையில் இன்னைக்கு நான் இருக்கிறேனே. கண்ணகி சேஸ் விருந்தெதிர்கோடல் விருந்தோம்பல் என்பதை வள்ளுவர் சொன்ன மாதிரி வள்ளுவர் ஸ்பீக்ஸ் ஆஃப் இருந்தோம்பி இல்வாழ்வதெல்லாம் இருந்தோம்பி வேளாண்மை செய்த பொருட்டு வள்ளுவர் சேஸ். So treating others and giving food for the others, giving for the food for the people who are under hungry is a biggest business, prominent business of the people in Sangam literature, right? And you see, another beautiful thing, in Ramayana, another beautiful thing. Shakespeare says about so many things, but here let me not to the marriage of true minds and meet impediments. Love is not allowed which alters when alteration finds, he says. உண்மை காதலரின் திண்மை குலைக்கும் இன்பத்தை குலைக்கும் திண்மை யாரேனும் உண்டால் அது எப்படிப்பட்டதா இருக்கும், எத்தனை மோசமா இருக்கும். let me not to the marriage of true minds, நடுவில் எந்த விதமான தொந்தரவு இருக்கக்கூடாது. let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not allowed which alters when alteration finds. மனசு ஒரு லைஃப்ல ஒண்ணு பெட்டரா தான் இருந்துட்டு இருக்கும். இன்னைக்கு we see that this is okay, tomorrow we'll see that we'll see that some other thing is okay, but this thing is not, it's not appropriate and applicable to the love, because it is something that is very, very significant and one. So let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not allowed which alters when alteration finds. Right? He says, in Ramayana, because we have seen the beauty of the Rama, because I can say it is a beauty, because he describes about the beauty only. So in Rama, another there is because Kampan also speaks of the beauty of Sita, பொன்னின் சோதி போதின் நாற்றம் பொலிவு போல் தென் உண்ணும் தேனின் தீன் சுவை செம்சொல் கவி இன்பம் கன்னி மாடத்து உங்களின் கழிப்பேடோடு அன்னம் ஆடும் உன் ஆண்டு அயல் என்றார். பொன்னின் சோதி போதின் நாற்றம், பொன்னின் சோதி, அதாவது எப்படி அங்க பாருங்க, வெயில் மாதிரி ராமனுடைய தோல், இங்க ஒரு தங்கத்தை போல தங்கத்தால் வார்த்தெடுக்கப்பட்ட தேவதை சீதா, பொன்னின் சோதி அந்த கலர், போதின் நாற்றம் மலரை போன்ற மென்மையானவர், அந்த வாசனை நறுமணத்தை உடையவர், பொலிவு போல அத்தனை பொலிவை கொண்டவர், தென் உண்ணும் தேனின் தீன் சுவை, பேசும்போது சக்கரை தென் உண்ணும் தேனின் தீன் சுவை, செம்சொல் பேசும்போது கேட்டுட்டு இருந்த உலகத்திலேயே ஏன் இப்ப பெண்ணோட வார்த்தையை கவிதைக்கு the word of the women is compared with the women. தென் உண்ணும் தேனின் தீன் சுவை, செம்சொல் கவி இன்பம், பெண்ணு பேசுற வார்த்தைகள் கவிதை பேசுற, வாங்கன்னா கவிதை, போங்கன்னாலும் கவிதை தான், ரைட்? செம்சொல் கவி இன்பம், because another flip city சொல்றான், poetry has fallen from the highest estimation of learning. ரோமபுரியில ஒரு இது உண்டு, poets are the waves, you see in apology for poetry by Philip Sidney, we see, poetry has fallen from the highest estimation of learning, we see he says, he gives the recognition for the poetry has fallen from the highest estimation of learning. The poets are compared to the waves, VAPES, because waves have the business to create. எப்படி கடவுளின் செயல்பாடு உற்பத்தி செய்வதை, படைப்பு தொழிலை செய்து கொண்டிருக்கின்றானோ, அதே போல ஒரு கவிஞனின் செயல் என்பது, கவிஞனின் பாடு என்பது படைப்பது, படைத்தல், படைப்பு, அதனாலதான் படைப்பு என்று சொல்றோம், கிரியேட்டிவ் ஒர்க் we say, ரைட்? அதனால்தான் செம்சொல் கவி இன்பம், அவர் பேசுவது கவிதை போல ஒரு படைப்பு, ஒவ்வொரு வார்த்தையும் புதிதாக கண்டுபிடிக்கப்பட்ட படைப்பு, இட்ஸ் a newly created one. செம்சொல் கவி இன்பம், கண்ணி மாடத்து உம்பரின் கழிப்பேடோடு அன்னம் ஆடும் ஆங்கு அயல் நின்றால், அன்னம் ஆடும். See, Sita was there in the gallery while Rama was taking நகர்வலம், நகர்வலம், தட் வரும்போது பார்க்கிறார். அதாவது அந்த சொல்ற முடியாது, எத்தனை பேரு இருந்தாலுமே தன் காதலை கண்டுபிடிச்ச முடியும், எத்தனை பேர் பேசிக்கிட்டு இருந்தாலும் தன் காதலி ஓசை கண்டுபிடிச்சிட முடியும், எத்தனை பேர் நடந்து வந்தாலும் தன் காதலி நடக்கக்கூடிய அந்த கொலுசின் ஓசை வச்சு கண்டுபிடிச்சிட முடியும், எத்தனை பேர் இருக்காங்க. வண்டி ஓட்டத்தை வச்சு கண்டுபிடிச்சோம் நம்ம. So that is seen even in Ramayana. செம்சொல் கவியின்பும் and அன்னம் ஆடும் நாட்டில் ஆய்கின்றார். The beautiful vision in Sangam literature, and it's a very because I like it very much. Romeo and Juliet. This drama is a beautiful love story between Romeo and Juliet, two dynasty lovers, right? அதாவது ரோமியோ ஜூலியட் மேல வச்சிருக்கிற காதல் இல்ல, cannot be measured இவ்வளவுதான் சொல்ல முடியும். The immeasurable love எல்லா காதலுக்கும் பொருது. It may be applicable to all the couples, but when ரோமியோ ஜூலியட் வச்சிருக்கிற காதல், something immeasurable, cannot be counted very easily. என்ன பண்றது, fall in love with the girl so that he wanted to meet clandestinely. பார்க்கணும், ஜூலியட்ட பார்க்கணும், பேசணும், அவளை கட்டி அணைக்கணும். He wants to embrace, right? But the family of the two sides are not at all supporting Romeo and Juliet to have for the love making and all that. So they are meeting clandestinely. ஒரு நாள் ரோமியோ ஜூலியட் கூட வீட்டுக்கு போயிடுறான், பின்பக்கமா மேலே ஏறி போயிடுறான், பின்பக்கமா போய் கட்டி அணைச்சிடுறான். ஷாக், இட் வாஸ் a shock for Juliet. புரியல, யாருன்னு தெரியல, ரைட், யாருன்னு தெரியல. பட் சொல்ற பார்த்தோம் தெரியும், suddenly sees that it was Romeo. சொன்ன பிறகு சொல்ற, see, if my kinsmen find thee, they will kill you. If my kinsmen find thee, என்னுடைய அப்பாவோட படை வீரர்கள்லாம் பார்த்தா அவனை என்ன திரும்பி பண்ணிடுவாங்க, கொண்டு போட்டுருவாங்க. அவ்வளவு தைரியம் உனக்கு? நீ பாட்டுக்கு மேலே வந்துருவியா? கட்டி பிடிக்க முடியுமோ உன்னால? கட்டி பிடிச்சு, see, if my kinsmen find thee, they will kill you. ஜூலியட் சொல்ற, if my kinsmen find thee, they will kill you. கொண்டு வா, kill you, right? But Juliet wants the hug of the Romeo. Juliet wants to have the hug of the Romeo, wants to have the embracement, everything she wants. She wants to have the comfort of the Romeo, everything she wants, but she wants to protest mildly. But Romeo does not want to leave from the clandestine meeting. So அதான் சொல்ற, if my kinsmen find thee, they will kill you. கொன்றுவாங்க, தெரியல, right? Romeo says, alack, than 20 of their swords. ஐயோ, அவங்க என்ன கொல்றது? அவங்க யார் என்ன கொல்றதுக்கு? There lies peril in the eyes. உன் கண்களை பார்த்தாலே போதுமானதே. எப்படி இருக்கு உன் கண்ணு தெரியுமா? உன் கண்ணே என்ன கொல்லுது. There lies peril in the eyes. That 20 of their swords, 20,000 பட்டாக்கத்திகள் ஒன்றாக நிறுத்தி ஒருவனை குத்தி போட்டால் எப்படி இருக்குமோ அப்படி குத்துகிறது உன் கண்கள். இதை விட அவன் என்ன கொல்ல போறான்? See, lessons of the love. There lies peril in the eyes. Then 20 of their swords, Romeo சொல்றான். See the beautiful essence of the love out of the conversation, the intimate conversation between Romeo and Juliet, right? And there are so many intimate interactions between Romeo and Juliet. And ஒரு இடத்துல வரும் பாருங்க. See, one context, this bud of love by summer's ripenings may prove the beauteous flower. Then next we meet. இன்னொரு முறை நாம் சந்திக்கும் பொழுது இந்த நம்மகிட்ட இருக்கக்கூடிய அந்த அருவி கொண்டிருக்கக்கூடிய காதல் அப்படியே பூத்து குலுங்கி கனிஞ்சு ஒரு அழகான மலரை போல இருக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு நிலைக்கு வரும். என்னால் பாருங்க, எதிர்க்க மாதிரி தெரியுது இருக்கிறேன். But I believe, Romeo says to Juliet, I believe that this bud of love by summer's ripenings, அந்த கோடை காலத்தின் வெயில் பட்டவுடன் அந்த இதழ்களின் பீட்டர்ஸ்ல பட்ட பிறகு அப்படி கஞ்சி may prove beauteous flower, அத்தனை அழகு நிறைந்த ஒரு மலராக வரப்போகுது. அடுத்த முறை சந்திக்கும் போது நடக்கவே இருப்பார். when next we meet, right? சேம் நம்ம சொன்னல, அதாவது நம்ம லியோ டால்ஸ்டாயோட வார் அண்ட் பீஸை பார்க்கும்போது the first line, இது happy families are alike. Every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. இந்த உலகத்தில் சந்தோஷமான குடும்பங்கள் அனைத்தும் ஒன்று போல் தெரிகின்றன. ஆனால் துயரத்தில் விளிம்பில் இருக்கக்கூடிய குடும்பங்கள் துயரத்தின் அதன் வழியில் தனித்து பிரிந்து கிடக்கின்றன. துயரம் என்பது ஒருவருக்கும் ஒரு பாடு இருக்கு. சந்தோஷம் என்ன, அது ஒரே இட்ஸ் அம்பர்லாட்டம். ஹாப்பி என்ன காரணம், ஏதாச்சும் சொல்லி ஹாப்பி. துயரம் அது வேற. It's a separate department that has been compartmentalized, right? That is derailed from the from our comfort zone, right? When we next meet, we saw so அது மாதிரி உலகத்துல ஏற்கனவே சொன்ன மாதிரி உலகத்தின் எந்த மூலையில் ஒரு எழுத்தாளன் பிறந்தாலும் அவன் சிந்திப்பது ஒரு அலையினை தொட்டு நடுக்கடலுக்கு போகிற மாதிரி தான். வள்ளுவர் ஸ்பீக்ஸ் ஆஃப் த குரல் கால் காலையில் அரும்பி பகலில் போதாகி மாலையில் மலரும் நோய். Same. This bud of love by summer's ripening may prove beauteous flower when next we meet. காலையில் அரும்பி பகலில் போதாகி மாலையில் மலரும் இந்நோய். காலையில தான் பாக்குறோம், பகல் முழுக்க நினைப்பு, சாயங்காலம் அதே நினைப்பு, ரைட்டா வந்துருச்சு, ராத்திரி தூங்க முடியல. வள்ளுவர் ஞானி, saint, right? An intellectual stalwart who says காலையில் அரும்பி பகலில் போதாகி மாலையில் மலரும் நினைவூட்டு மீளவே முடியலையே. We cannot liberate. It's highly tough for us to liberate our mind from the clutches of the beauty of the lady or the girl that we see in the morning, right? And so here, the men and women are saying, sometimes, when we see ecofeminism, all the women are treated to be or considered to be the soil, where the men is started to be the seed we see. Alright, similarly, ஒரு 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 புது கவிதை ஒன்று சொல்லும். என்னன்னா, பெண் என்றால் பேயும் இறங்கும். பேயும், தமிழ் கவிதை. பெண் என்றால் பேயும், பேங்கிறது PAY, நாட் தமிழ்ல சொல்ற பேய் இல்ல. பெண் என்றால் பேயும் இறங்கும், PAY. Man is given, same job, same arena, same tool they are using, same work, but man is paid 500 rupees, 600 rupees, women is paid 200 rupees. See, disparity, societal imbalance, right? So it happens, but this need to be addressed, this need to be changed, right? So they are equally okay, equally same creature, equally toiling in the same land, same work they are doing, but the ground reality is different, because man is treated to be this superior, treated to be the intellectual, treated to be the rational, treated to be somewhat in the height, whereas women are not given the same place and same space, but she is a somewhat she is given subservient position, inferior status, inferior position she is given in the world. So here we need to address this thing, so that women empowerment will come to the women's position. She is doing very good job. She is doing, because of the total world population, 40% of the people, 40% of women are getting education, they are literate, but still, in the countries like Afghanistan and the African continent, we see women are denied rights to even to have education, literacy. So this need to be changed. So because Bharatidasan says, பெண்ணுக்கு கல்வி வேணும், பெண்ணுக்கு கல்வி, he says, because he recommends education for women. Bharati says, அச்சமும் நாணமும் நாய்களுக்கு இருந்து போகட்டும், எதுக்கு பெண்ணு? நம்ம அங்க டிஸ்கிரிமினேஷன் பாத்தீங்கன்னா, ஆண் நிமிர்ந்த நடை, நேர்கொண்ட பார்வை, பெண் பாதத்தை பார்த்து நடக்கணும், everything, there are so many. So this is what Bharati, அச்சமும் நாணமும் நாய்களுக்கு இருந்து போகட்டும். She is a beautiful thing, a beautiful creature, beautiful. So பெண் என்றால் பேயும் இறங்கும். So this needs to be addressed, and under the circumstances, so we need to give complete right and liberty to the women, and we need to support for the cause of the women rights and women education, because Periyar and Dr. Ambedkar have championed for the cause of the liberation of the women. And in Indian constitution, because Ambedkar knew the fact that women need to be considered in a greater way, so that he wrote the right for education for the women, liberation for everything in Indian constitution. Periyar also championed for the cause of the in Tamil context, because அவர் ஒன்று சொல்லிட்டு கடைசி சொல்லிட்டாரு, வீட்டுல பொண்ணு தான் சமைக்கணும்னா வீட்டுல கிச்சனே வேணாம்னு சொல்லிட்டாரு. we needless to have kitchen in the home. 2 பேரும் கடையில சாப்பிடலாம், என்ன கஷ்டமா போச்சு? If the cooking is a duty meant for the women, we need to have a kitchen in our home. Maybe இது பாருங்க எவ்வளவு நாளைக்கு முன்னாடி வந்துச்சுன்னு மேபி இட் மேபி ஒரு மாதிரி தெரியல பட் இட் இஸ் அ ஃபேக்டர் ஹியர் இட் இஸ் நாட் தட் we are dismantling the system of having a kitchen in the home. It means that it is a job of the both man and ரெண்டு பேத்துக்கான வேலைன்னு சொல்றதுதான் அப்படி புரிஞ்சுக்கிறத தவிர it is not that it is dismantling the institution of having dismantling the possession of having kitchen in the home, right? So because Ambedkar and Periyar have done the tremendous job for the liberation for the women, we have to also support for the cause of the women liberation, so that the empowerment will come and fall in the hands of the women. Thank you for the opportunity given to me, and once again I thank the Sanghya Ilakya Nadum of Perambalur and Dr. Jasmine Priya, head of the Department of Tamil in AK College of Arts and Science, Coimbatore. Thank you once again. Thank you very much. Hello, madam. Madam, my lecture is over. It has come to an end. Thank you, madam. Hello, madam. ஆஃப் பண்ணிட்டுமா அப்புறம் கேமரா பார்க்கணும். ஃபோன் பண்ணாங்க உங்களுக்கு? பேசுங்க. கேமரா நீங்க பார்த்து பேசிக்கணும்.